これから会話を始める前にですね、携帯電話が鳴らないように切っていただきたいと思います。それでは最初に、宗教学際センター長である、森教授の方からご挨拶を申し上げたいと思います。
皆さんこんにちは。本日はお忙しい中、21世紀 COE プログラムの公開講演会、中東の平和と安定とサウジアラビア王国の役割にお集まりくださいまして、誠にありがとうございます。まず最初に、わざわざ、この講演会のために東京からお忙しい中、おいでくださいましたファイサル・ハッサン・トゥラード大使をご紹介し、そしてまず御礼の拍手を申し上げたいと思います。どうもありがとうございます。この講演会は、実はシリーズの講演会およびシンポジウムの一部をなしております。入り口のところでこのスイスモボイスの最新号をお渡ししたと思いますけれども、それのですね、何ページでしょうか、10ページ以降にパレスチナ・イスラエル問題を考えるシリーズについて紹介させていただいております。6月17日のタミーニ博士の講演会から始まりまして、一連のシンポジウムおよび講演会が続いております。本来サウジアラビア大使による講演会は、夏前に行う予定でございましたけれども、大使のご都合で、延期になりまして、本日を迎えております。その一連のシリーズの中の一部であるということをまずご紹介させていただきたいと思います。次に、今日の講師であられます、ファイサル・ハサン・トゥラード氏の略歴について、簡単ですけれどもご紹介させていただきたいと思います。大使は1956年にマディーナでお生まれになりまして、1978年にアブドゥル・アジーズ大学で経済学を修め、経済学士の学位を取得され、その後すぐにサウジアラビアの外務省にお勤めになりました。英国大使館およびベルギー大使館でのお仕事を終えられた後に、1900年から2001年まではサウジアラビア外務省の経済局長として、特に経済問題について深く関わっておられます。その中では、世界貿易機構 WTO のお仕事を長年なさっておりました。そして2001年から2004年まで、これは日本に赴任される前のことなんですけれども、2001年から2004年まではカイロにありますアラブ連盟ですね、アラブリーグのサウジアラビア大使としてお勤めになりました。アラブリーグはこのアラブ諸国、22カ国ですか、現在は22カ国ですか、22カ国の連盟でございまして、サウジは特にエジプトと並んで、その中でも非常に大きな役割をしている国であります。その大使としてのお務めをなさいました。この2001年から2004年といいますのは、これは9.11、それからイラク戦争が始まった時期ですので、その間ですね、このアラブ諸国がどのような形でそれに対応したかということを、まさにその中に身を置いて体験されてきた方でございます。2004年の9月に日本の在日大使として着任され、今日に至っております。大使はご婦人との間に5人の奥様がおいでで、最初の予定ではご一緒に京都においでの予定でしたけれども、一番上のお嬢さんが婚約されたということで、サウジアラビアに帰らなければいけないということで、今回は残念ながら ご家族はご一緒ではございません。それでは早速大使のお話を伺いたいと思いますけれども、逐次通訳で、講演を行います。そしてその後、あんまり長い時間が取れるとは思いませんけれども、皆さんからご質問を受け、そしてそれにお答えしていただくという時間を持ちたいと思います。本日の講演のタイトルは、中東の平和と安定とサウジアラビア王国の役割でございます。それでは大使どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
It wasn't originally on the plan, but I started with our greeting of Islam, which means Assalamu alaikum, means peace be upon you and peace be with you, because we believe in, as Muslims, that if you can have peace with yourself, then you sure can have peace with the family, peace with your region, and peace with the whole world. So I apologize for the translator that I just add these things on my speech. So if I may start by thanking Professor Mori, the director of SISMOR of Dushisha University. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here today. And also I want to thank the university for giving me an opportunity to address you. And I thank all the people who are here to listen to me. To those who knows a little bit about my country, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is with an area of around 800,000 square miles, which is about 5.1 times bigger than Japan, occupies the bulk of the Arabian Peninsula located in the southwest of Asia. Saudi Arabia lies at the crossroads of three continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa. It extends from the Red Sea in the west to the Arabian Gulf in the east. Saudi Arabia is the largest country in the Arabian Peninsula. It shares the Arabian Gulf and the Red Sea coast with the Arabian Gulf states, Yemen, Jordan, and Iraq. So they are cultural and historical and overlaps with its neighbors. But several important factors, however, distinguish Saudi Arabia from its neighbors. Unlike other states in the area, Saudi Arabia has never been under the direct control of a foreign power. It was through the political and military genius of the late King Abdulaziz ibn Saud, the founder of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where he eventually welded together to form a single nation within a kingdom founded upon Islam. To many Japanese people, our country, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in distance seems far away. But in economics relationship, it is very close. Japan depends on Saudi Arabia for most of its energy needs, and Saudi Arabia imports from Japan a lot of industrial products. The cooperative relations between the two countries have started more than 50 years ago. And bilateral relations between Saudi Arabia and Japan have taken a smooth course to date. The arrival in Japan by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, the Deputy Premier, Minister of Defense and Aviation, and Inspector General in 1960 marked the beginning of bilateral visits by dignitaries of both nations. Last year, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Japan. Official visit to Japan by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud in April 2006 opened a new chapter of the next 50 years history of the Saudi-Japan relationship. During that visit, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Sultan met with His Majesty the Emperor Akihito, His Imperial Highness the Crown Prince Narahito, and the Prime Minister Kizumi, and a lot of Japanese officials. On this historical visit, two countries signed a joint statement entitled "Towards the Building of Strategic and Multi-Layered Partnership between Japan and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia," and a memorandum of policy consultation between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia was signed. An FTA negotiation between Japan and the GCC countries, and also a PIT negotiation. Also, Saudi Arabian Airline started their operation between King Sai Airport and Riyadh and Jeddah. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia means different things to different people. For millions of followers to Islam across the world, it is the ultimate holy land and pilgrimage destination. For a large number of expatriates from Asia, Europe, and the United States, it is a land of opportunities. For the rest of the world, Saudi Arabia means oil, the lifeline of present and future economics. Saudi Arabia has so far lived up to all these definitions and is now entering a new phase of its development. The foreign policy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has been since the days of the founder, King Abdulaziz, based on a solid foundation of promoting world peace and stability. This is, I believe, an objective we share with our friends in Japan. Saudi Arabia emphasized Arab and Islamic solidarity and the defense of the just cause of the Arab and Islamic world. It is also tenet of Saudi foreign policy to adhere to international norms and agreements respecting human rights, non-alliance policy in its international relation, and non-interference policy in the domestic affairs of other countries. On the international and regional front, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was among 50 states that established the United Nations and signed its charter in 1945, and also one of the 7 founders of the Arab League in 1945, and also one of the founders of the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which strongly believes in the importance of cooperating with the international community, offered and is still offering financial and moral support to the role of the UN in keeping international peace and security and active humanitarian works through various international organizations. Also, Saudi Arabia is the world's biggest oil exporter and has the world's biggest spare production capacity. It has utilized air revenues to expand and diversify the economy to reduce its dependence on oil. Aware of its influential role in the international oil market and its responsibility
the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has sought to ensure market stability in order to safeguard the interest of both producers and consumers and promote global economical growth. Therefore, Saudi Arabia has invested some of 252 billion Saudi riyal in oil and gas sector. Saudi Arabia is utterly opposed to acts of terrorism, all of which are forbidden by Islam. The Saudi government has pursued an anti-terrorism policy by all possible means for many years, both before and since September 11, 2001, and is fully supportive of the war on terror. Saudi Arabia believes that despite disputes between nations should be resolved by negotiation, and if negotiation fails, then by reference to international law, not by act of aggression or violence. Saudi Arabia also believes that the best interest of all countries in the Middle East would be best served if all countries in the region obeyed the relevant United Nations resolutions. Saudi Arabia also believes that what unites the people of the world is ultimately far more important than what divides them. And despite oppositions from those eager to promote a clash of civilization, it will continue to work for mutual respect and increased understanding. King Abdullah, custodian of the two holy mosques, had condemned the idea of clashes between civilization, and he called on replacing it by a constructive and peaceful coexistence between civilization. He also demanded that the next stage in relation between countries and nations should be a stage of real dialogue in which every party respects the other and its section and religions and identity. Saudi Arabia believes it is the duty of wealthy countries to assist the developing world. To this end, Saudi Arabia has provided an annual average of 4% of its GNP over the last 30 years to development projects, in more than 70 countries around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I always find it rewarding to share remarks at colleges and universities. They offer an opportunity for a free exchange of ideas, and a campus always seems alive with the energy of those who wishes to make contribution to the world. Today, in our world, there are plenty of opportunities for all of us to contribute. So I want to talk specifically about the potential for contribution in the Middle East, an area that unfortunately has its share of problems. Ladies and gentlemen, the Middle East is in the midst of a very dangerous phase, with the emergence of a new crisis, the worsening of old crises, and their overlap. The urgent situation which we are currently facing include in Lebanon the threat of a greater instability is increasing. In Palestine, the Israeli occupation continues to humiliate the Palestinians and deny them their indubitable rights to an identity and a country. Iran's nuclear program continues to create concern for the world, and we all know of the daily turmoil and suffering of the Iraqi people. We're looking at these situations, many of them lasting years, even decades. We can only ask ourselves, where can we find hope? Robert Kennedy once said, each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. For decades, Saudi Arabia has worked to fulfill this mission. The kingdom, in fact, has been a leading voice of peace and stability in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia wants to see the full potential of this beautiful region realized. There is no reason why the Middle East cannot flourish into a vibrant and prosperous region as it once was. To see this accomplished and to witness a lasting peace, we must take a comprehensive and coordinated approach. With regard to Iran, Saudi Arabia has consistently engaged them in an open discourse. Our experience has been that talking with the Iranians is better than not talking with them. In Lebanon, we see a nation that was just coming out from underneath the division of over 20 years of civil war, assassination of important leaders such as Mr. Hariri and Pierre Jamil, served to undermine the spirit of the Lebanese people. Unjust, such as an Israeli unlawful incursion last summer, destroyed the infrastructure and progress that has been made. So as a way to help the kingdom continue to support the ideals of the Lebanese people, we have donated aid in the amount of $250 million to help Lebanon rebuild Beirut and other areas after this summer Israeli bombardments. And we deposit a $1 billion in the Lebanese Central Bank to stabilize the currency and economy. We continue to monitor their needs and work with them to bring peace and stability. Establishing peace has been a challenge as well in Iraq. Once again, Saudi Arabia has stood up for the ideals of peace and justice. We continue to support the Arab League in bringing all Iraqi factions together and we support the Maliki government in its effort to overcome the sectarian strife that is taking so many innocent lives. To alleviate the burden the war has taken on the nation, Saudi Arabia has pledged $1 billion US in support. Of this total, $500 million US are to be provided through the Saudi Development Fund to finance development projects in the area of education, health, infrastructure, and housing. In response to direct requests submitted by the Iraqi government, the remaining $500 million US are to finance trade between the two countries. Saudi Arabia has also already provided humanitarian and relief assistance to Iraq amounting to approximately $88 million US. We are also talking to our Iraqi brothers on relieving their debts to the kingdom. But we still believe the solution must come from within Iraq. And the Iraqi people and the Iraqi leadership are the ones that should determine their government and destiny. We are merely helping them getting there. For all these issues, there is a tendency to compartmentalize and to keep them separate. As we have seen, this is not an approach that will work. What is needed is a holistic and comprehensive strategy that starts directly with the root of the problem. And that problem is the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. This conflict is the most enduring international conflict today, and its continuation affects negatively the chances of concluding effective solutions to other crises. The ongoing Israeli occupation of Palestine is a contravention to international law. It continues a grave violation of the principle of the refraining from political seizure of other nation territories, and it is represent an effort to the decisions reached by the UN. Besides being a conflict between two peoples, the situation with Palestine and Israel has become an impediment to international stability. Without forging a solution, we will continue to be unable to secure lasting peace throughout the Middle East. And this turmoil, as we have all witnessed, will be inherited across the world. Terrorists use the conflict to justify their evil acts around the world. Extremists use the conflict to recruit people to their cause. If you could see what people in the Middle East see on television every night, your opinion would change dramatically. For too long, the Palestinian people have endured great injustice and hardship. Many thousands live in hopeless, many thousands live in hopeless poverty, and thousands more have been uprooted from their homes. All have been deprived of minimum human and national rights. Since peace is manifestly in the interest of the region and the world at large, it is that much more incumbent on leading powers to be consistent and insist in moving Palestine and Israel towards the known outline of durable settlement. For this to be accomplished we need implementation. For 50 years, we have ideas and proposals, resolutions and initiatives, but never has there been an honest and just implementation or enforcement of these agreements. Right now, even after the events of this summer, we have the roadmap as outlined by President Bush and the Abdullah peace plan. We needed to finally bring these parties to the negotiation table. A lasting and just peace plan can only result from diplomatic negotiation. Israelis and Palestinians can begin to build confidence and trust in a process that takes into account the needs of both sides. Only when there is trust in the process can there be trust in the implementation of the solution. When this issue is removed from the table, or at the very least allowed to move towards resolution, then others who use it to justify violence or misventure will be quitted. Quite. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end, I believe that the vision of Mr. Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, to have a beautiful country, Japan, could be useful also for having a beautiful world that values culture, tradition, history, free society, respect, discipline, and has a dignity. Therefore, I would like to call for more international cooperation to ensure the world we are looking for, a world with peace and stability. Saudi Arabia has worked and will continue to work with its international partners to ensure this. Obrigado.